Welcome back to Green Disruptors. Today I'm joined by Jessy Servi Ortiz, Executive Director of the Sustainable Business Council, a nonprofit organization helping businesses of all sizes integrate sustainability into their operations. From reducing risk and operating costs to building resilience and employee engagement, Jessy's team has developed tools like the Green Masters program, an online platform that helps businesses define, measure, and grow their sustainability efforts. In this episode, we talk about how sustainability isn't just good for the planet, it's good for business too. Jessy shares how the council is expanding its reach nationally, the challenges of navigating polarized conversations around sustainability, and why connection to nature is essential to becoming better stewards of our world. Let's dive in. Hey, Jessy, welcome to Green Disruptors.
Hi, Megan. Great to be here.
Yeah, so we were chit-chatting a little bit before we pushed record, but I kind of want you to tell us about your picture in the background.
Yeah, so this is a photograph that a friend of mine took from Beaver Creek, Colorado, which is a very special place to me and my family. We've been skiing there for the last 30 years, and my husband and I got married there. So
Oh, that's
and we
great.
go back every Thanksgiving.
So you go to ski, not like summertime, so that makes sense.
We do go to ski, yes.
So tell us where you are now, even though Colorado's the escape.
Yeah, I physically live in the state of Wisconsin. Was born and raised here, grew up inside a family business, spent about 10 years traveling the world, living in other countries, as well as the beautiful state of California, which I got to visit Utah when I lived there. But now I actually live in what's called the Southern Kettle Moraine Forest. It's a state forest, and so I have about 4 acres of deciduous hard trees, mix of oak and hickory nuts, and it's a beautiful place.
Sounds kind of incredible,
Mhm.
actually. So, okay, tell the audience why you're here and what we're
Yeah.
going to talk about.
Sure. So, my name is Jessy, and I am the executive director of what's called the Sustainable Business Council. And what we do is we help businesses on their sustainability journey. So, our mission is really to accelerate the adoption of sustainability and the integration of sustainability into business. So, through operations, really to help businesses drive long term impact, think through the lens of continuous improvement, and scale their impact, right? So that really has kind of 2 main parts, which is accelerating the integration of sustainability and then also building sustainability leaders. So those are kind of the 2 ways in which we really fulfill our mission. And so, yeah, we're here to talk about sustainability today.
Yeah, awesome. Well, when I first came in contact with you and we had some good conversations, I was impressed by, this isn't just people out there saying what everybody should be doing. You actually have implementation tools and work in partnerships with businesses to actually get it done. So tell us kind of about how that approach got started.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been around 18 years. We were formerly the Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council. We grew out of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We have a great founder. His name is Tom Eckert, and he was a professor, both of business and he worked through the Nelson Institute. And so he had a unique approach where he brought businesses into the classroom and built this great relationship with students actually doing projects for businesses. And sort of out of that just relationship grew this council. And so 18 years ago, we sort of formalized. Initially, we were student led. So the students put on a
Yeah.
conference every year. We still host an annual conference, and the students developed what's called the Green Masters program, which about 3 years ago we fully redeveloped, and it's our online tool for businesses. What it does is it helps businesses through a materiality process to really help them define what sustainability means for them, what their priority areas are, what impact they can make as a business, and also what's important to their stakeholders. So it takes materiality and makes it really easy and digestible for businesses so that then they can set sustainability priority areas. And then the tool helps them develop systems for the ongoing tracking, measure, monitoring of those priority areas. So we take a very broad approach, kind of that ESG, environmental, social, and governance lens. We look at all things environmental, so waste, water, energy, greenhouse gas. Then we also look at society and sort of what is our civic role as a business. We look at governance, how the company is governed, as well as sort of workforce and how are employees being treated, what is the worker experience within the company. And then in each of those categories, they get to select actions. The tool really has three parts. It's about systems development, best practice implementation, and then performance improvement. So they actually get to measure their own progress over time and how they're doing against their own goals. So it's technically a certification. It's a certification that for business operations, which is kind of a unique thing, as well as a recognition program. So I mentioned we host an annual conference, and every year we celebrate the accomplishments of the businesses in our network.
So tell me what that looks like if somebody wants to go through this program, like if they don't have like, a sustainability department, which, probably most businesses don't. Who's doing this, and what does that look like within the busyness of running a business day to day?
Absolutely. You'll be maybe a little surprised to hear that the majority of our businesses, well, are small businesses, right? Because our tool is a really approachable tool for small, medium-sized businesses that exactly that don't have somebody with a sustainability title.
Right. Yeah.
And so what that looks like for businesses is it's actually a member benefit. So businesses become a member, they gain access to our tools. With that, they get access to our educational resources as well. And then we offer like a support network for helping them get started. So our tool is really designed for businesses. We call it kind of an on-ramp to sustainability, who are newer to sustainability, who might not have an education or background in anything sustainability. Maybe they're coming from operations or environmental health and safety, or sometimes it's HR or marketing, right? It really depends on how the organization is structured. And so then there's a suite of resources for them to really educate themselves on what sustainability means, but also have this community of people that they can connect with if they want. Some members absolutely love the community aspect. Others are like, I'm good. So
Introverts and extroverts.
exactly. It's there if they need it or want it. And the materiality process is really what helps them define what to focus on and prioritize what to focus on. So it kind of takes away having to figure that all out, and it allows the company to align and feel good about their priorities. And if they're brand new to sustainability, we really recommend that they start with 3 to 5 priorities, right? Don't bite off more than you can chew. Start small, build on your successes. And because the tool is kind of education and learning in one, there's a lot of like pop-up resources. So if they don't know how to track greenhouse gas, for example, then we lead them to the greenhouse gas protocol, corporate standard, and then they can, dive into that a little bit more. Or we have like a greenhouse gas working group, which they can plug into, again, to kind of get peer support on their journey.
So it kind of seems like this could be, if it's a small business, like maybe it's the founder and the owner sitting there going through these things. Maybe it's in team meetings. Maybe they assign a couple people to head it up and inform their team. So it's like it really would work no matter who's driving it and how many of the team members are involved.
Absolutely. Another kind of unique thing is that you can have as many like login accesses to the tool.
Oh,
So
that's
a
great.
lot of times, like some companies will have like 10 people who
Right.
actually log in, and the HR person will fill out the workforce section. The accounting person might fill out some of the greenhouse gas, or whoever is responsible for that if they don't have a sustainability person. And we really recommend that team approach because our
Mm-hmm.
philosophy isn't that sustainability should be one person's job. Again, it's really meant to be integrated into the business, meaning everyone has some level of responsibility for it. And it's not just, oh, it's, Jessy's job to do that in our company, so send it all over to her, right? That's not what
Right.
integration is or means. It's really everyone's responsible. We're building a sustainability management system. There's transparency, there's exposure across the business. There's multiple people responsible for it, whether you're small business or not. We have a lot of founders that, will do it for their own business or have interns do it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so no matter who you are, it's meant to really help you take your program to the next level.
Okay. So now we kind of understand the tools and what the mission is. So let's hop over to the side of how your organization is structured. You described it to me as more comparable to a B Corp in the way that, your operations run and the way you finance it. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are technically organized as a nonprofit. We support our B local Wisconsin group very much. We have a board of advisors and a board of directors. So we really are guided by the community in which we serve, right? We are constantly getting feedback from them on what their needs are, how do they like what education should we prioritize. Like I said, we like to share their stories, so we work closely with our Be Local Wisconsin group to host events. We do ongoing events. So even though we're a nonprofit structure, we operate like a benefit corporation does and would, really driving our focus on what kind of impact can we make both on our community and on the environment. And like I said, that building leaders piece of it is also equally as important to helping integrate sustainability. So we do like professional development series. We have kind of like a wellness series. So for example, I'm hosting a forest bathing experience
Ooh,
at the forest I mentioned is our
yeah.
property coming up, just to also help people connect to people if they want, but also connect to nature, because I really personally believe that if we're more connected to our outside external environment, then we become better stewards of it, right? It's hard to argue with the fact that we all want clean air to breathe and clean water to drink, right? So,
Well, and that it feels more human and alive to be in our natural element and to, we've changed the way modern societies operate so much when we get out of touch with that, it's no surprise that things get messed up in nature and with us with our health.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so tell me about like in this type of a structure where you're a nonprofit but kind of operating as a B Corp, what does growth look like? And what are some maybe growth goals that you guys have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned we were formerly the Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council. This January of 2025, we changed our name to the Sustainable Business Council in order to facilitate some of our growth goals, which are
Mm-hmm.
really to um, grow our membership regionally, not just regionally, but also nationally if there's an interest. But
Mm-hmm.
also because our Green Masters program is such a unique tool, we've had interest from like associations, industry groups, even larger companies to use it in their supply chains.
Mm.
And so we're really sort of gearing up and looking at sort of the software as a service to facilitate some of our growth in terms of, okay, we've really created a program and a tool that's working well for
Yeah.
businesses. We get a lot of positive feedback about it, and how can we make it more accessible and more available to those companies who are just getting started in sustainability so that we can kind of take the hard work of organizing around sustainability out of it. Sustainability has really become a technical field, and
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
that's true.
and at the same time, like you mentioned, there's a lot of small businesses that they don't have the time, the expertise, maybe even the interest,
Yeah.
um, or the resources to just go out and hire somebody to do this. So our tool has been really helpful in facilitating that sort of cross-functional team and growth where it's like, okay, this is everyone's responsibility. Let's work on this together, collaborate through it. And, a lot of sustainability is being driven, especially right now, through supply chains, somewhat regulations, more on the greenhouse gas side,
Hmm.
but that really allows it to be more digestible for a lot of businesses. So that's some of our growth opportunities, I'll say.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I mean, I'm curious how you approach this because in Wisconsin, you've been around for a while. You have a good
Hmm.
reputation. Like people have connections with the university, like that the
Yeah.
magic happened there. So how do you expand nationally, and what's maybe the strategy for going after businesses that would be a good fit for this?
Yeah, well, to be honest, we're creating the strategic plan as we speak. And really, the angle that I would say, is presenting itself in front of us that we're planning to take is really having a few what we call anchor tenants. So, a few
Mm,
associations who act much like we act, so we understand each other, we speak each other's languages,
yeah,
but they're not experts in sustainability. They're experts in their industry, right? And in
in
providing their
networking within
members.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of white labeling our Green Masters program to be
Mm,
a tool that they can put their name and their association brand behind and roll out in the same way we've rolled out to our community, the tool to help bring all of their members along the sustainability journey. So, for example, we're working in the marine industry with a large association, and you know, they are experts in the marine industry. We are not. We are the experts in sustainability. And so it's been a great partnership in terms of learning what each other needs and kind of figuring out how this program could work for their members. And so we're kind of hoping to replicate that with other groups.
I mean, that sounds like SaaS Success 101 to me, the way you described that. So I think you guys are on the right track. And it just creates that win-win scenario for everybody. Like your partners are incentivized by getting to use this thing you've already developed and tested, and then, you get a large network of users. So,
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that, it's interesting because, we've been asked numerous times, like, are you going to grow the membership outside of the upper
mm-hmm.
Midwest? And it's like, that's less of a priority because we hear so
Hmm.
much from our members about the value that we bring to them is being regional, right? Like we understand the issues of what it means to be a Wisconsin to operate as a business in Wisconsin or to live in Wisconsin, right? We have lots of
Right.
resources, but we're a purple state. So, we're kind of a swing
Yeah.
state. So it's an interesting
Yeah.
political landscape here. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of unique things, happening here in the business sector specifically. So at this point in time, right, unless somebody wants to say, hey, we want to do what you're doing in our state, right? It's really, we're looking at our growth more through the lens of the tool and the supporting
Yeah.
resources we've built than replicating a community that feels less attainable or maybe localized outside of our region.
But in that same sense, it seems like you could use the white labeling functionality to, like, maybe there's an organization in Utah that
Hmm.
is trying to do what you're doing here, but hasn't got that far yet. So you could have a partnership there, and then it's plant, you're giving the seeds, they're growing the tree. Like,
Exactly,
hmm
exactly. Yes, I would much rather take that approach.
yeah, yeah, no, that sounds like much less of a headache.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So I mean, yeah, it's always like, yeah, good job. But when boots hit the ground, like there's always things that come up and things don't go according to plan. So what has been something that's been extra challenging in the last 6 months?
Not to be overly political, but honestly, just the political landscape
I
is
know.
is really making our work polarized when it shouldn't be, and
It
it doesn't
shouldn't be.
have to be,
Mm-mm.
right? It's like sustainability makes business sense, right? It's why do businesses value sustainability? Because it reduces risk, it reduces operating costs, it attracts and retains employees, it enhances your visibility, your reputation, right? It creates an environment of innovation, which is great for businesses with, products and services.
Hmm.
It's a way to enhance and collaborate with your key stakeholders, maybe key customers, right? Problem solve together. It just opens up like another way of doing business that's much more collaborative, which I think is the
Yeah.
way our culture is really going. But, um, you know, and it's unfortunate that so many companies are having to rebrand what they do
Mm.
just to green hush it. Like that's the new term,
Right.
right? Like we're
Green
green
hushing.
hushing because we don't want to get in trouble for having a diversity and a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion
Right.
program. It's like no, actually like there are fundamental facts that prove that more diverse businesses perform better on their financial statements, right? That's a good thing for business. You can grow to more
Whew.
markets.
Yeah.
So I would say that's like our biggest challenge is how much do we stand up and say, no, this really is good business, makes good business sense, and help our businesses through that kind of rebrand and restorytelling. Because to be honest, a lot of our companies are accelerating what they're doing. They're not
Yeah.
stepping away from
Yeah.
sustainability.
Despite the
Yeah.
landscape. Hmm.
And because of climate issues, like the food and beverage sector, for example, right? Like very real impacts on growing food are happening
Yeah.
with the changing climates. Very real climate disasters are happening to businesses that have to, you know, displace, replace, either their operating systems, their, physical location and or their employees. Like these things are accelerating, they're not slowing down. So businesses are still feeling the effects and they still understand why sustainability is helping them become more resilient. And at the same time, we're having to fight more for that right? And so
Right.
it's just a little frustrating, but I'm really hopeful and optimistic. Like I've been working in this space for so long that it's like we're just shifting back to the business community leading, right? Like
Yeah.
we did grow into government taking a very big step in drafting climate action plans and having grant money and funding available for, green infrastructure and electric vehicles and things like that. But we're just kind of government's not so interested in that at the federal level. A lot of local governments still are. So they're figuring out, okay, how are we going to fund this without federal funding? And the businesses are stepping up, right? And the businesses are saying, no, actually, we're still going to do this. And a lot of like American Family is a big brand in Wisconsin. They're a insurance company, which is one of the industries, right, that's very affected by climate disaster. And so they're moving their funding into less into some social issues that they had and more into environmental resiliency for
Mm.
communities
Yeah.
because, well, that's their business and it makes business sense to them.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you having a business in a purple state. It's like I'm in a red state, but in the bigger city, it's pretty purple as
Uh,
well. And um, God, have you had success like having a conversation with somebody who is maybe more polarized and just like responding to
yeah, I would.
logic? I don't know. Is anything
Yeah,
working, is what I want to know.
yeah. I pick my battles. I will say that.
Same. I'm
I'm
very selective about that.
selective
Yeah.
about, who it's worth giving that energy to. And
Yeah.
I will say, I have had some good successes, and it's not the successes come from taking the personal out of it and meeting
Yeah.
them where they're at, right? Understanding what's driving them, understanding what their values are, talking about clean water and clean air. We can all get behind that, right?
Hmm.
Versus, you know, DEI or whatever else that might be more polarizing is like just spending more time listening and less time talking.
Mm.
Even my family just moved 2 years ago to this rural community versus being urban. And
Right.
so just that has helped me have more empathy for more rural communities' interests and needs and priorities, which allows me to sort of better speak to like the like we use the word resiliency in rural communities more than we do in urban communities because they can relate to that and they understand
Mm.
that more so. So,
I love that. I think you're spot on. It's like you can even just picture it. Like if you're picturing yourself on a moral high ground, this person is not going to listen and they're
mhm,
going to feel attacked. But if you can start with a shared value or understand like, okay, well, when you say this, what do you mean? Like
mhm.
asking more questions than than pontificating maybe. So
Yeah.
oh, that's hard though, and it does tend to get emotional. And like I know when I read the news and engage, like it's like you get stressed and frustrated, and so it's like I think we all have to do a better job of taking care of ourself and our health and our mental health, so that we can show up from a centered place, go do the tree bathing, and that's a good first step, I think.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, and people come to sustainability from a variety of places, right? So, if you're listening to this and maybe you aren't so sure, right? It's some companies come through that lens of compliance, which is more about
Hmm.
meeting regulations. Maybe
Yeah.
it's, they have air pollution permits or water discharge permits, and it's like, okay, if that's what your business impacts are, let's look at those, right? And so sometimes it's also about like just finding what's important to the business and saying, okay, we can do this through a lens that's, leaving sustainability out of it and still just helping you be a better steward to your community, right?
Yeah. Agreed. Well, I think we covered everything I wanted to hit, so thank you so much for joining. Is there anything you want to kind of plug before we end here?
Well, we host our annual conference this year. It's in La Crosse, Wisconsin, which is a beautiful region. It's right on the Mississippi River. So that's November 4th and 5th. If anyone, listening happens to be in the Midwest and wants to join us, you're more than invited. And or if you know an association or a group like ours that might be interested in the Green Masters program, our membership rates are very reasonable. We work really hard to make sure sustainability is
It's
accessible.
accessible. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
we actually have a grant right now that our small business members, so 25 employees or less, you will do is our $500. But that grant makes it 50% off, so it's
Wow.
$250 for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
That's
kind of a
nothing.
low cost entry to
Yeah.
just give it a try if you are a small business and it's something you're interested in. I would love to hear from you. So thanks so much, Megan, for having me.
Yeah. Amazing. Thanks so much. This has been great and best of luck, and we'll keep in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. That was Jessy Servi Ortiz, Executive Director of the Sustainable Business Council, an organization that's making sustainability more approachable, actionable, and accessible for businesses everywhere. If you're a small or mid-sized business looking to start or strengthen your sustainability journey, you can explore their Green Masters program or check out their upcoming annual conference in La Crosse, Wisconsin. You'll find all the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Green Disruptors. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, share the episode, and join us next time as we continue to highlight the innovators driving a cleaner, smarter, and more sustainable future.